Two 8-year-old twin sisters waited every day at a train station, hoping their mother would come back. What happened one day changed their lives forever. This is a powerful story of hope, kindness, and the family we choose. Before we begin this emotional journey, we want to say thank you for being part of this amazing community. Now, let's get right into the story. The sun dipped behind the tall buildings of Wilkinsville, casting long shadows over the small-town train station. It was a quiet place, mostly used by commuters and travelers passing through. But every single day for the last 5 weeks, 2 young girls had become part of the scenery, almost like they belonged to the station itself. Their names were Lila and Lily Carson, 8 years old, identical twins. Both had shoulder-length chestnut hair tied in ponytails, worn-out jackets, too big for their thin frames and wide, curious brown eyes. They sat side by side on the old metal bench near Platform 3, legs swinging, waiting. For what? No one really knew. The ticket man, Mr. Douglas, had seen them first. At first, he thought they were lost. But when he walked over to help, Lila looked up at him and said politely, "We're just waiting, sir." "For who?" he asked. "Our mommy," Lily added, squeezing her sister's hand. Mr. Douglas had nodded slowly, unsure what to say. That was 5 weeks ago. Since then, they came back every day. Rain, shine, or cold wind, it didn't matter. They arrived. By 5:45 p.m., sat down with a small lunchbox between them, and left by 7 if no one showed up. They never caused trouble. They never cried. But something about their tiny bodies, wrapped in oversized jackets, sitting so still, unsettled the regular passengers. And so, rumors started. Runaways from foster care, abandoned by their mom, waiting for a father who never even knew they were born. But the truth was deeper and sadder. That afternoon, Lila reached into the lunchbox and pulled out the last sandwich. It was just plain peanut butter on stale bread. "You eat it," Lily whispered. "No, you." They argued in whispers like they always did, until Lila finally tore it in half and gave Lily the bigger piece. She smiled. Lila glanced at the clock, 6:02 p.m. "Maybe she's on the 6:15 today," she said. Lily nodded. "She said she'd be back. I remember." "I remember too," Lila whispered. Their mother, Mia Carson, was a waitress at a downtown diner. 3 months ago, she left for work and never came home. That morning, she gave them a kiss on their foreheads and said, "Be good. I'll be back before the sun goes down." But the sun went down, and she never returned. The twins had waited and waited, and when no one came, they decided she must have gotten on the wrong train. So they made a plan, go to the station every day. She would find them there. She had to. Back at home, they lived alone in a small, run-down apartment. It wasn't hard. Their mom had trained them to be independent, cooking instant noodles, washing up, keeping quiet. The landlord hadn't asked questions, not yet. Their rent had already been paid 2 months ahead. But time was running out. That Tuesday, something strange happened. As the 6:30 train pulled into the station with a screech of brakes, the girls stood up like they always did. Eyes searching, hearts hoping. But this time, a man stepped off the train and paused. He noticed them, a sharply dressed man in his late 30s holding a leather briefcase. He looked at them, really looked. They looked back. "Are you two here? Alone?" he asked, walking closer. Lily clutched Lila's sleeve, unsure. Lila stood taller. "Yes, sir. We're waiting for our mom." The man knelt down to their level. "What's your name?" "I'm Lila. This is Lily. We're 8. He blinked. "Do you come here often?" "Every day," Lily said, voice barely above a whisper. The man looked around the station, empty except for a janitor sweeping leaves and Mr. Douglas. "In the booth. I'm Ben," he said gently. "Ben Harris. I work in the city." He didn't know why he cared. Maybe it was their small voices, or their matching shoes with worn-out soles. Maybe it was the way they sat, hopeful, yet far too patient for kids their age. He stood up. "Would you like something warm to eat?" The girls looked at each other, unsure. Lila shook her head. "We're not allowed to talk to strangers." Ben smiled sadly. "That's very smart." He reached into his coat and pulled out a business card. "I'm not a stranger anymore. Here, I work here. If you ever need help or something happens, you call me." Lila took the card carefully, like it was made of glass. Ben hesitated, then walked away, but his mind stayed on them the entire train ride home. That night, he did something he hadn't done in years. He prayed. "God, if you sent me there for a reason, show me what to do." Back at the station, the girls sat until 7 p.m. No sign of their mother. They stood, packed the empty lunchbox, and walked home through the dark streets. But something had shifted. Someone had noticed. And that, for the first time in weeks, gave them hope. Ben Harris couldn't sleep. He tossed. He turned. His city apartment, usually silent and peaceful, now felt too loud with thoughts. The image of the two little girls on that rusted bench at the Wilkinsville train station played, on repeat in his head. He couldn't shake it off. It wasn't just that they were kids sitting alone at a station. It was how they sat, not like they were lost, not scared either, but full of hope, like they believed their mom would walk off the next train and wrap them in her arms. That kind of hope didn't belong to children who'd been told the truth. He poured himself a glass of water, leaned on the counter, and stared out the window. He had no children, no wife, no family left in the city. He had a good job as a financial analyst, drove a nice car, lived in a high-rise. But tonight, he felt empty. "I should have asked more," he muttered. The next morning, he searched. For the card he'd given them, it had his office number, not his cell. They probably don't even have a phone, he realized. Then he did something unexpected. He left work early, boarded the 4:30 p.m. train, and got off at Wilkinsville Station. He stood near the booth and waited. 4:45 p.m. There they were, walking in from the street, just like clockwork. They carried the same small lunchbox. Their jackets still looked too big, but their steps were light, like they were hopeful. Ben took a deep breath and approached. "Hey," he said with a small smile. They paused, surprised. "You came back," Lila said quietly. Ben nodded. "I couldn't stop thinking about you girls." Lily looked at the bench. "We saved your seat." That hit him straight in the heart. He sat down beside them, keeping a respectful space. "Can I ask you something?" The twins nodded. "Where's your mom?" Lila looked down. "She went to work, said she'd be home before sunset." "When?" "Almost 3 months ago," Lily whispered. Ben swallowed hard. "And since then?" "We waited at home for 2 weeks," Lila said. "Then we started coming here." "Did you tell anyone?" "We don't want to go to foster care," Lily said quickly. "They'll split us up." Ben felt a weight drop in his chest. These girls had been surviving on their own. No school, no adult, no help, just each other. "Do you have any family?" The girls shook their heads. Ben leaned forward. "Would it be okay if I visited your apartment? I just want to make sure you're safe." The girls exchanged a look. Then Lila nodded slowly. "Okay." The walk was quiet. They passed old buildings, cracked sidewalks, and flickering street lamps. Finally, they reached a narrow 3-story building. They climbed to the 2nd floor and entered a tiny apartment. Inside, it was clean. Not perfect, but clean. 2 small mattresses on the floor, a stack of books, a plastic crate of dry noodles and canned soup. The fridge buzzed loudly, but held only a bottle of water, a half-eaten apple, and 2 juice boxes. Ben's chest tightened. "You've been living here, alone?" They nodded. He sat on the edge of a mattress. "Girls, I want to help you, but I need to know. What if your mom isn't coming back? Lily's lips trembled. She wouldn't leave us. I know, Ben said gently. But what if something happened? They were quiet. Then Lila reached under the pillow and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. She unwrapped it slowly. A note, crinkled, torn at the edges. It read, "If anything happens to me, find Mr. Paul at Westbrook Church. Tell him Mia Carson sent you." Ben's eyes widened. "Do you know this man?" "No," Lila said, but we don't know where the church is." Ben stood. "Then let's find out." He made a few calls, searched online, and within an hour they had an address. Westbrook Church was on the other side of town, too far to walk. So Ben drove them. In his car, the girls sat in the back, eyes wide at the luxury, heated seats, leather interiors, music that wasn't crackling from an old radio. Ben watched them in the mirror. They didn't say much, but they held hands the whole way. At the church, an old man with silver hair was locking the gate. Ben rolled down the window. "Excuse me, sir? Are you Mr. Paul?" The man turned. "Depends who's asking. These girls, Lila and Lily Carson, are looking for you." Mr. Paul froze. His eyes scanned the twins. Then he whispered, "Mia's girls." "You knew their mom?" Ben asked. "Yes," Mr. Paul replied, stepping closer. "I knew Mia very well." The twins looked hopeful. "Where is she?" Mr. Paul's face fell. "I think we need to talk inside." The wooden door creaked open as Mr. Paul led them inside Westbrook Church. The girls followed quietly, holding hands. Ben stayed close behind. It was a small, humble place, nothing like the big city churches. The lights were dim. A few rows of worn pews lined the center. At the front, a simple cross stood beneath a stained glass window. Mr. Paul guided them to a small room behind the sanctuary, a cozy office with dusty bookshelves, a desk, and a framed photo of a younger Mia Carson, holding 2 babies, Lila gasped. "That's us," Mr. Paul nodded. "Yes, Mia gave me that photo years ago." Ben helped the girls into their seats. He sat across from Mr. Paul. The old man folded his hands and looked down for a moment before speaking. "I've been worried this day might come." "What do you mean?" Ben asked gently. Mr. Paul took a breath. "Mia used to come here often. She volunteered in the soup kitchen, helped with food drives. She was struggling back then, working 2 jobs, no family around, but she never gave up on those girls." Lily leaned forward. "Where is she, sir? Is she okay?" Mr. Paul's eyes glistened. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'm afraid something might have happened." He pulled open a drawer and handed Ben a brown envelope. "She gave this to me 3 months ago, said if anything ever went wrong and the girls found me, I should give this to the person they trusted." Ben opened it slowly. Inside was a handwritten letter and a folded document. He read it silently, then again. His hands trembled. "What is it?" Lila asked. Ben looked up. "It's a custody letter." Mr. Paul nodded. "Mia was scared. She told me she was being followed. She said if anything happened to her, she wanted you two to stay together. She didn't trust the system." Ben's voice shook. "She named me?" "No," Mr. Paul replied. "She left it blank. Said she hadn't found the right person yet. But she gave me this in case someone did come along, someone who really cared." The room went quiet. Lila whispered, "We still believe she's coming back." "I do too, honey," Mr. Paul said. "But until then, we have to keep you safe." Ben looked at the girls, so small yet so brave. He cleared his throat. "Can they stay here tonight?" Mr. Paul smiled. "We have guest rooms in the back and warm beds." The girls' eyes lit up. "Really?" Ben knelt in front of them. "I'll come see you in the morning, okay? We'll figure this out together." They nodded slowly. Lily reached into her pocket and handed him something. His business card. "You forgot this," she said. Ben chuckled softly and tucked it into his jacket. "I guess I did." Mr. Paul led the girls down the hall while Ben stepped outside, staring up at the stars. A blank custody form, a mystery. Two little girls who needed someone. And for the first time in years, Ben knew what he had to do. The next morning, Ben arrived early. He brought a bag of groceries, milk, cereal, fresh fruit, and peanut butter sandwiches wrapped neatly in foil. When he stepped into the church kitchen, the girls were already seated at a small table, feet swinging, faces lit up with mourning, smiles. "You came back," Lila said. "Of course," Ben replied. He poured cereal into 2 bowls and sat with them. "I have a few questions for Mr. Paul, but I want you both to know, whatever happens next, I won't leave you." Lily blinked. "Promise?" "I promise." Mr. Paul joined them after breakfast. He looked less tired today, maybe a little more hopeful too. "I did some checking," he said, sitting beside Ben. "There's no police report about Mia. No missing person alert." Ben frowned. "That's strange." "She might have been scared," Mr. Paul explained. "Didn't want to bring attention." Ben thought for a moment. "We need to file a report. And maybe check hospitals or shelters. Someone must have seen her." Mr. Paul nodded. "I'll help." Lila tugged Ben's sleeve. "Can we help too?" Ben smiled. "You've helped more than you know." They spent the rest of the day making calls. Mr. Paul shared Mia's photo with nearby shelters. Ben posted on local community pages. He even called a friend in the city who worked in law enforcement. Still, no leads. That night, as the girls curled up in their new beds at the church, Ben stood in the doorway watching them sleep. He turned to Mr. Paul. "If I wanted to take care of them officially, how do I do it?" Mr. Paul raised an eyebrow. "You're sure? They need someone, and I want to be that person." Mr. Paul smiled. "Then we'll start the paperwork tomorrow." Ben nodded, and in that quiet church hallway he made a silent vow to protect them, to find their mother, and to never let them feel alone again. The next morning was cold, the kind of cold that crept under your coat and stayed on your skin. But inside the church, warmth filled the little kitchen as the smell of pancakes sizzled in the air. Mr. Paul flipped another one onto a plate, while Ben poured orange juice into 2 cups. Lila and Lily giggled from their seats at the table. "You made pancakes?" Lily asked in surprise. Ben grinned. "Mr. Paul did. I'm just here for juice duty." The girls dug in happily, the first real breakfast they'd had in weeks. No stale bread, no crackers and tap water, just warm food and smiles. After breakfast, Ben stood and cleared his throat. "Today, we're going to talk to someone about becoming your guardian. That means I'll be able to take care of you, legally, no more hiding, no more being afraid someone will take you away." The twins looked up at him with wide eyes. "Really?" Lila asked. Ben nodded. "But only if that's what you want." Lily reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "We want." Mr. Paul made a few calls and set up an appointment with the County Family Services office. The girls dressed in their best clothes, worn but clean, while Ben filled out forms and gathered documents. At 11 a.m., they all walked into the downtown Family Services Center together. The waiting room was cold and filled with other children, caseworkers, and the low hum of voices. A kind woman named Ms. Teresa called them into her office. She wore glasses and had a warm, tired face, but she smiled kindly at the girls. "Hello, Lila and Lily. I heard you've had quite a few adventures." The girls smiled shyly. Ben handed her the letter from Mia and the blank custody form. "I want to file for emergency guardianship," Ben said, "and I want to make sure they stay together." Miss Teresa read through the papers carefully. Then she looked up at Ben. "Are you a relative?" "No." "Have you known them long?" "No, just a few days." She raised an eyebrow. "That's unusual." Ben nodded. "I know, but I can't walk away. Their mother trusted someone would find them, and I believe she wanted the best for them. I want to be that person." Ms. Teresa looked at the girls. "And how do you two feel about this?" Lila stood up, surprisingly bold. "He's kind, he brings us food, he listens, and he doesn't treat us like a problem." Lily added softly, "He feels safe." Ms. Teresa smiled. "That's more powerful than any paper." She explained the process. There'd be home visits, background checks, interviews. It wouldn't happen overnight, but the emergency guardianship could be granted temporarily while the full process began. "We'll start today," she said, "and I'll call child welfare to check if anyone reported Mia Carson missing." By noon, Ben had signed the emergency paperwork. The girls were officially under his care. Temporarily, yes, but officially. As they walked out into the sunlight, Lila looked up at him. "Does this mean we get to live with you?" Ben nodded. "Yes, we're going home." That evening in Ben's apartment, the twins walked slowly through the front door, holding hands tightly. The apartment was warm, modern, and far different from the crumbling walls of their old place. Soft lights, polished floors, clean furniture, a large couch faced a TV. The kitchen smelled like fresh pizza. "You live here?" Lily whispered. Ben smiled. "Now we live here." He had gone out of his way to prepare 2 new beds with bright covers, a box of clothes, books, and even stuffed animals. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. The girls explored with wide eyes. Then Lily stopped in front of a picture frame on the table. A photo of a young man in military uniform standing next to an older couple. "Who's that?" she asked. "My brother," Ben said quietly. "He passed away 5 years ago, and those are my parents. They're gone too." Lila turned around. "So you were alone too?" Ben nodded. "For a long time." Lily took his hand. "Not anymore." Tears welled in Ben's eyes. That night, after dinner and a movie, he tucked them into their new beds. As he turned off the light, Lila asked a question. "Will you still look for our mom?" Ben knelt beside her bed. "Every single day." "Promise?" He kissed her forehead. "Promise." The next day, Ben went back to the church to thank Mr. Paul. The old man hugged him tightly. "You did a good thing," Mr. Paul said. "I just hope Mia's okay. We'll keep praying." That afternoon, Ben printed flyers with Mia's photo. He handed them out to shops, police stations, shelters, even gas stations. He called hospitals, asked about unidentified women, looked at online forums. But still, nothing. Until the phone rang at midnight, Ben jolted awake and reached for it. "Hello?" A crackly voice on the other end, female, weak. "Is this Ben Harris?" "Yes, who's this?" "My name is Rosa. I work at a small clinic outside Red Pines. We have a woman here, no ID, been in an accident, head trauma." She kept mumbling. "The names Lila and Lily." Ben froze. "Is she Mia Carson?" "We think so." He sat up. "I'm on my way." As he hung up, he whispered into the dark, "Hold on, Mia, your girls are safe, and I'm coming." Ben drove through the night, his hands tight on the wheel, headlights cutting through fog as he sped toward Red Pines. It was a small town, 2 hours outside the city, quiet, forgotten, the kind of place no one went unless they had to. His heart pounded with every mile. Could it really be her? Was Mia Carson alive? He thought of Lila and Lily sleeping peacefully back at his apartment, unaware of this call, of the sliver of hope that just opened in the middle of the night. At exactly 2:17 a.m., Ben pulled into a gravel driveway beside a tiny clinic that looked more like an old house. The porch light flickered as he stepped out, clutching the photo Mr. Paul had given him of Mia and the girls. A tired-looking nurse met him at the door. "You must be Ben." "Yes, I got the call." She nodded. "Follow me." Inside, the place smelled like antiseptic and coffee. A lone ceiling fan squeaked above. She led him down a narrow hallway to a small room. The lights were dim. Machines beeped softly. On the bed lay a woman with bruises on her face, a bandage on her forehead, and an IV in her arm. She was thin, pale, and unconscious, but there was no mistaking her features. Ben pulled out the photo and stared at her. It was Mia. "I knew it," he whispered. The nurse explained quietly. "She was found on the side of the highway 3 weeks ago. Looks like she'd been attacked. No ID, no name. She couldn't speak at first, just cried. A few days ago, she said the names Lila and Lily, over and over." Ben sat by her side. "You found the right person." The nurse smiled softly. "She must have held on just for them." Back in the city, the sun was rising. Lila stretched and rubbed her eyes. She sat up in her new bed, blinking at the golden light. Spilling through the window, Lily was still sleeping, hugging her new stuffed bear. Then the smell of bacon and eggs drifted in. They rushed to the kitchen where Ben stood flipping breakfast with one hand and holding his phone in the other. "You're back," Lily said, hugging him around the waist. "I made breakfast," he smiled. "But first, I have something to tell you." They sat at the table, eyes wide with curiosity. "I went to a clinic last night," Ben began. "Someone called. They found a woman. She was hurt, but alive. She'd been in an accident weeks ago. And she kept saying your names," Lila gasped. "Mommy?" Ben nodded. "I saw her. She's resting. But it's her. It's really her." Lily burst into tears. "Is she coming home?" "Soon," Ben said gently. "She needs time to heal." "But the doctor said she's going to be okay." The girls jumped up and hugged him tightly. "She didn't forget us," Lila cried. "She was looking for us too," Lily sobbed. Ben held them both, his eyes misty. "She never stopped." Later that day, Ben drove the girls to Red Pines. It was a quiet journey, filled with whispers, nervous fidgeting and hope. As they pulled into the clinic parking lot, both girls pressed their faces against the window. The nurse was waiting. Inside the room, Mia had just opened her eyes. She looked weak, confused, and still groggy, but when she saw the two little faces rush into the room, Lila and Lily crying, smiling, calling, "Mommy!" her eyes widened. "Lila, Lily," she whispered. The girls climbed onto the bed, hugging her gently, tears soaking into the blankets. "I waited," Lila said. "I knew you'd come," Lily added. Mia sobbed, stroking their hair. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to be gone this long." Ben stepped back quietly, letting them have the moment. Mr. Paul's words echoed in his heart. She'll come back when she can. Now, she had. That evening, the clinic released Mia under Ben's responsibility. She needed time to heal, yes. But she was alive. She was back. And now, she wasn't alone. Back at Ben's apartment, Lila and Lily refused to leave her side. They brought her water, tucked her in, read to her. Mia smiled through the pain, whispering over and over, "I'm home, I'm home, I'm home." And Ben? He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a soft smile on his face. For the first time in years, he wasn't just a man with a job and an empty apartment. He was something more now. Mia Carson sat on the soft couch, bundled in a warm blanket, her daughters curled up beside her like kittens that had finally found their mother. Outside, the evening sun spilled gold across the city skyline. Inside, it was peaceful, almost too peaceful for someone who had just survived a nightmare. Her fingers ran slowly through Lila's hair as she whispered, "I still can't believe I'm here." Ben smiled from the kitchen where he was preparing tea. "You're not dreaming. You're home." Mia looked around the apartment. Clean, safe, smelling of fresh laundry and cinnamon from the girls' cookies earlier. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Ben brought her tea and sat across from her. "How much do you remember?" She stared at the cup. "I was working late. I left the diner around 10 p.m. I remember crossing the alley behind the building. Then someone grabbed me." Her voice cracked. "Everything went black." The room went silent except for the faint sound of Lily humming a lullaby as she colored beside the coffee table. "I woke up in pain. Couldn't move, couldn't speak. The nurses said I was in and out of consciousness for days. They didn't know who I was. I didn't have anything on me. But when I could finally talk, I said their names." Ben nodded. "That's how they found me." Mia looked at him. "Why did you help them?" He glanced at the girls. "Because no child should wait at a train station every day, hoping for a miracle. And because I needed them as much as they needed me." Tears welled in Mia's eyes. "You're a good man, Ben. My girls would have been lost without you." "They're not lost anymore," he replied. The next week, Mia stayed, in bed most days, slowly regaining her strength. The doctor visited twice, amazed at her recovery speed. "She's healing faster than we expected," he told Ben. "She must have a strong reason to get better." Ben smiled. "She does." The girls returned to a routine: morning cartoons, afternoon lessons, evening walks. Ben even bought them matching backpacks and notebooks. He knew they'd need to return to school soon, and he wanted them ready. But it wasn't just the girls who were adjusting. Ben was changing too. His apartment, once quiet and lonely, now buzzed with life. He found himself laughing more, cooking meals that weren't microwaved, and noticing how the little things mattered, like Lily's crooked drawings taped to the fridge, or Lila's stories about cloud shapes. Every night, the four of them ate together at the dinner table, and every night Mia would look around and whisper, "Thank you, God. Thank you." One evening, Mia sat beside Ben on the balcony, a blanket draped over her legs. The girls were inside watching cartoons, giggling. "I've been thinking," she said softly. "About what?" "You've done so much for us. I don't even know how to repay you." "You don't need to." "But I want to," she said, turning to him. "You gave my girls a home. You looked for me when no one else did. You believed I was alive when the world moved on." Ben shook his head gently. "I didn't save them, Mia. They saved me. I was drifting, just existing. Then two tiny souls sat on a bench and made me believe in something again." She smiled. "Still, I'd like to share something with you. Something I've never told anyone." Ben leaned forward. "Okay." "I used to sing," Mia said, "before everything fell apart. I sang at weddings, church events, small concerts. But when the girls came and their dad left, I let go of that dream." Ben listened quietly. "After what happened, lying in that hospital bed, I realized something. Life is too short to let go of dreams, so I want to try again." Ben smiled. "Then you should." "You really think so?" "I do, and I'll be your biggest fan." She laughed. "Even if I'm rusty. Especially if you're rusty." A few days later, Ben stood in the hallway holding an envelope from Family Services. It was the final notice, the results of the guardianship process. His heart pounded as he opened it. Approved. Full legal guardianship of Lila and Lily Carson has been granted to Mr. Benjamin Harris with the consent of biological mother Mia Carson. He sat down, stunned. Mia came over holding a bowl of fruit. "What's that?" Ben handed her the letter. Her eyes widened. "You're their legal guardian now." He nodded slowly. "If that's okay with you." She took his hand. "It's more than okay. It's perfect." Lila and Lily came. running in a moment later, arms full of paper crowns they made from old magazines. "Mama, look! We made you a queen!" Mia laughed and knelt down. "And who's the king?" They both shouted, "Ben!" Ben chuckled. "I didn't sign up for royalty." "Yes, you did," Lila said proudly. "You saved the whole kingdom." And for once it didn't feel like pretend. It felt like home. He was family. The days grew warmer. Spring bloomed across the city, painting the trees pink and gold. Life inside Ben's apartment began to feel like something out of a dream. Not flashy or perfect, but filled with laughter, healing, and purpose. Each day, Mia's strength returned. She started going for walks again, first around the block, then to the neighborhood park with the girls. Ben always joined, carrying juice boxes and pointing out birds he pretended to know the names of. One sunny afternoon, Mia stood on the porch of a small cafe down the street. A chalkboard sign out front read, "Open Mic Saturdays, come share your voice." She stared at it for a long time. Ben noticed. Thinking about it, Mia bit her lip. "Maybe. You should." She smiled, a little shyly. "You really believe in me, don't you? I believe in people who survive what you did and still wake up singing," she laughed. "You haven't even heard me yet. I don't have to." That evening, back at the apartment, Lila and Lily were writing in their new journals, something Ben started with them to help process everything. "Write down what made you smile today," he had said. Lila's entry, "Mama smiled at the park." Lily's, "Ben carried me when I got tired." Meanwhile, Mia sat at the dining table, notebook open, writing lyrics. Her hands trembled slightly, fear maybe, or excitement. She hadn't written music in years, but the melody was still inside her, just waiting. Ben joined her with 2 mugs of tea. "What are you working on?" "A song. For the girls. Can I hear?" "Not yet," she smiled. "But soon. The next Saturday." The cafe buzzed with chatter, laughter, and the scent of fresh coffee and pastries. Small fairy lights glowed above. A little stage stood in the corner with a microphone and a stool. Ben sat at a front table with Lila and Lily, all of them wearing Team Mia badges the girls made with glitter and tape. Mia stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand. She looked around nervously, cleared her throat, then glanced at her daughters. They beamed at her, eyes wide with pride. She closed her eyes and sang. Her voice was soft at first, like the wind through trees. Then it grew, warm, soulful, rising like a river after rain. The room went quiet. Even the barista stopped mid-pour. Mia sang about waiting, about hope, about 2 little girls. At a train station, about a stranger who became family. When she finished, the room exploded into applause. The girls cheered loudest of all. Ben stood and clapped, eyes misty. Mia took a shaky bow, then ran straight to them. "That," Ben said, "was incredible." "I was so scared," she laughed, hugging the girls. "You were brave," Lila said. "Like a lion," Lily added. In the weeks that followed, Mia was offered a weekend slot to sing at the cafe regularly. Word spread. A local musician invited her to record in his home studio. She said yes, not for fame, but for herself, and the girls, they thrived. Ben enrolled them in school. The principal was hesitant. 2 girls with no official school history. But after talking to them, she smiled and said, "These 2 are going to soar." Lila joined the art club, Lily joined the choir, and Ben, he found himself rearranging his work hours to pick them up from school, help with homework, and be there for every bedtime story. The apartment was no longer his, it was theirs. One night after the girls had gone to bed, Mia and Ben sat on the balcony again. The sky was clear. The stars were out. "I've been thinking," Mia said quietly. "Dangerous," Ben teased. She nudged him with a smile. "I want to start something. A project for moms like me, single mothers with nowhere to go, women who've been through trauma and don't know where to begin again. Ben raised his eyebrows. That sounds amazing. Would you help me? He didn't hesitate. Of course. They sat in silence for a moment, then Mia looked at him. You know, I never believed in second chances. Ben turned to her. Why not? Because I never saw one. And now, she smiled, now I see it every day. She reached for his hand and held it gently, not as thanks, not from guilt, but because something real had started to grow between them. Quiet, honest and filled with light. A new family born from pain, standing strong in love. One crisp morning, while Mia packed the girls' lunchboxes for school and Ben searched for a missing sock, his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him pick up. Hello? Is this Mr. Ben Harris? A deep voice asked. Yes, who's speaking? My name is Detective Alvarez from the Wilkinsville Police Department. We recently reopened a cold case involving an assault behind the downtown diner 3 months ago. Your name came up in connection to Mia Carson. Ben straightened. Yes, she's here, recovering. We found her at a clinic a few weeks ago. She hasn't made a formal report. Ben hesitated. She's been healing, physically and emotionally. I didn't want to pressure her. I understand, the detective said, but we need to talk to her. A suspect was arrested last night, in connection with another assault. During questioning, he described the incident that matches Mia's exactly. We believe he's the same man. Ben felt a chill down his spine. I'll talk to her, he said, but please go slow. She's been through enough. After the call, he walked into the kitchen where Mia was humming and placing snacks into the girls' lunchboxes. Mia, he said gently, can we talk? Her smile faded as she looked up. They found him, Ben said quietly. The man who hurt you. Later that day, Detective Alvarez met them at the local precinct. Mia held Ben's hand the whole time. She was nervous, but she stood tall. She told her story, every painful detail. The detective nodded respectfully. You're brave, Ms. Carson. Your testimony confirms everything. Will he go to jail? She asked. Yes, with your help, we'll make sure he can't hurt anyone else. Mia exhaled slowly, shoulders releasing a weight she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. Outside, she stood on the steps, eyes closed, face to the sun. Ben stood beside her. Are you okay? He asked. I will be, she said. For the first time, I feel safe again. Back home, the girls surprised Mia with a cake they baked with Ben's help. It was a little lopsided and had way too much frosting, but it was beautiful in its own way. What's the occasion? Mia asked. You were brave, Lila said. And brave people get cake, Lily added. Mia laughed. I like this rule. After dinner, they all danced in the living room to one of Mia's old demo tracks. The girls jumped on the couch, twirling. Ben tried to keep up, badly, and Mia just laughed and danced with her daughters, the music floating through the apartment like joy set free. That weekend, Ben helped Mia set up a meeting with a local women's shelter director. She pitched her idea, a mentorship and music therapy program for single mothers who had been through trauma. The director listened carefully, then smiled. We've been looking for someone like you. Mia blinked. Really? Yes, and I think your story, your music, and your strength can change lives. When she got back home, she was glowing. They said yes, she whispered to Ben. He hugged her tight. Of course they did. You really think I can do this? I know you can. Later that night, Ben stepped into the girls' room to tuck them in. Uncle Ben, Lila said sleepily, can we still call you that even if Mommy is back? He smiled. You can call me anything you like. Lily yawned. You're our safe place. That hit him in the chest like a soft hammer. He kissed their foreheads and whispered, "And you're mine." In the hallway, Mia waited, her eyes warm. "You've changed their lives," she said. Ben looked at her. "They changed mine first." They stood there a moment in quiet stillness before Mia leaned forward and kissed him gently on the cheek. A promise, a beginning, and in that moment, they both knew. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about thriving together. The leaves had started to turn. Autumn painted the city in rich golds and deep reds, and the air carried the smell of cinnamon and warm pastries from street vendors. It had been nearly 2 months since Mia reunited with her daughters, and life had begun to settle into something beautiful. Lila and Lily were thriving in school. Lila had made her first best friend, a shy girl who loved drawing horses, and Lily was chosen to sing a solo at the school's upcoming Thanksgiving concert. Ben and Mia attended every parent meeting, every school lunch day, and every weekend library trip. To other parents, they looked like a regular family. No one saw the history behind them. No one knew the tears, the station benches, the silence, the long wait, or the broken bones stitched back together by love and patience. And that was okay. Because they weren't just surviving anymore. They were living. That Thursday evening, Ben walked into the apartment carrying a small box, looking unusually nervous. Mia raised an eyebrow from the kitchen. "Okay, what's going on?" He scratched the back of his neck. "I have a surprise. But not for you. For the girls." At the table, the twins' eyes widened. "What is it?" Ben sat down and opened the box. Inside were 2 shiny keys attached to heart-shaped keychains, one pink, one purple. "What are these?" Lila asked. "They're keys to your new rooms," Ben said. Lily gasped. "We're moving?" Ben laughed. "No, not far, but I bought a house." Mia's jaw dropped. "You what?" "I bought a house," Ben repeated. 3 bedrooms, a garden, a kitchen big enough for actual baking, and a music room for you." Mia stared at him. "You're serious?" "I'm serious." The girls squealed and jumped into his lap, hugging him tight. "I wanted a place where we could all grow," Ben said. "A real home." Mia's eyes softened. "You already gave us one." Saturday, moving day. The new house wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. A white picket fence, a tree in the front yard that dropped golden leaves, and a wide porch with a swing. Inside, the rooms were cozy and bright. The girls got to decorate their own rooms. One chose stars and glow-in-the-dark stickers, the other picked flowers and pastel curtains. Mia stood in the kitchen, running her fingers along the countertop. "You really did all this for us?" Ben stepped beside her. "For us. All of us." She turned to him, eyes glistening. "You're not just part of our story, Ben. You are the story." He didn't know what to say, so he just pulled her into a hug, and this time she didn't let go. The following week, Mia's program officially launched at the women's shelter. She called it the Second Song Project. Every Thursday evening, she gathered women in a small room with soft lights, instruments, and notebooks. Together, they wrote, they sang, they cried, and they healed. Ben attended the first session quietly in the back, watching as Mia led with strength and grace. One of the women whispered to him afterward, "She makes us feel seen." He smiled. "She's good at that." One quiet night, Ben tucked the girls in and turned off their bedroom light. He walked down the hall, ready to head back to the guest room, when Mia called softly from the kitchen. She was making tea. He joined her. For a while, they just sat, silent, content. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She handed it to him. It was a poem. The benched 2 girls waited with hearts in their hands, hope tucked in a lunchbox, too small to stand. Each train passed, and still they believed that love, somehow, would never leave. Ben looked up at her, stunned. "I "I wrote it after our first night in the apartment," Mia said softly. He folded it carefully. "I'll keep this forever." She stood and walked to him, her eyes warm, lips slightly trembling. "Ben?" "Yes?" She reached up and gently kissed him. This time it wasn't on the cheek. This time it meant something more. A door opened in his heart, one he didn't know he'd locked. And just like that, they both walked through it together. One bright Saturday morning, Mia stood by the door, holding her coat and smiling down at Lila and Lily, who were lacing up their sneakers. Ben walked in, sipping coffee. "Big plans today?" Mia nodded. "We're taking a trip back to Wilkinsville Station." Ben paused. "Are you sure?" She smiled gently. "Yes, I need to go back, not to remember the pain, but to show the girls how far we've come." The train station was quieter than they remembered. The air smelled like autumn, dry leaves and something distant, like old iron. The same rusty bench sat at platform 3, the same cracked clock above the booth, but the moment felt completely different now. Mia stood beside the bench, holding her daughter's hands. Her voice was soft, but steady. "This is where you waited for me." Lila nodded. "Every day. We didn't know if you were coming back, but we hoped." "I never stopped trying to get to you," Mia said, kneeling down. "Even when I couldn't move, even when I couldn't speak, your names kept me going." Lily wiped her eyes. "We were scared." "I know," Mia whispered. "And I'm so proud of you both. You were brave, you were smart, and you never gave up." Ben stepped forward, his hands in his coat pockets. They were the strongest people I'd ever met. The girls hugged Mia tight. Then, without a word, they pulled a marker from their backpack. Lila crouched by the bench and began to write. Ben smiled. "What are you doing?" "Finishing the story," she said. On the bottom plank of the bench, in neat, careful handwriting, Lily wrote, "We waited here for Mama, and one day she came." Back at home that night, they baked cookies, danced around the living room, and played board games until the sun dipped below the windows. Lila and Lily wore matching pajamas with tiny hearts and moons. Mia braided their hair while Ben read aloud from their favorite storybook. After the girls had gone to bed, Mia and Ben stepped outside to the back porch. The stars were out again, shining bright. Ben took a deep breath. Hard to believe it started with a bench. Mia smiled, leaning into him. "And a peanut butter sandwich." He chuckled. "And 2 tiny girls with more hope than most adults." "I know." Mia looked up at him. "Thank you, Ben, for everything." He turned to her. "You saved me too, Mia. You and the girls." Then, quietly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny velvet box. Mia froze. Ben knelt. Not with grand speeches, not with fanfare, just a quiet, sincere question. "Can I stay your safe place forever?" Mia covered her mouth with one hand, tears brimming in her eyes. Then she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, "forever." 6 months later, Wilkinsville Station had a new mural on the wall, a painting of a mother and 2 daughters holding hands, standing by a bench. Above it, a sign read, "Hope always waits, and love always finds its way." People often stopped to take pictures, but no one knew it was painted by Mia Carson, and that the artist had once been the woman lost in the dark. Now she was light, she was music, she was home.